This now gives me to think her last words. Making the right decision at the end. Why are you not switching? Normally I switch my audio to a different channel in order to hopefully not get my bot muted, because now we are at the very end. Now we'll talk about how much I like this game or not. But yeah, her last words. That she can make the right difference. And as it stands right now, I do not believe those words. She did the right difference this time. But I guess this is what character growth means. And hopefully in the next games, quotation marks, she can evolve even more as a character. Because in this game she was quite selfish. Everything about her motivation was selfish. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. But in this one, yeah.
I shall rise, oh well, I shall rise again and again.
Okay, let's talk about this game. The music sucks anyway, so who cares about the music? So, this game sucks a lot. It has a few redeeming qualities toward the end, which really wants me to give it a better scoring. But the only good thing about this game is its graphics. The story writing is absolutely horrendous. It really has those moments where you think you are listening to a good story, and it's about, like 9 moments in this game is where you get teased into believing that you are listening to a good story. But it has the same major problems like the last game. There was this one scene that vividly comes to mind where an assassin was in Lara Croft's room, and I don't know what his beginning motivation was. Was it to abduct her? Maybe make it look like a suicide, like maybe knocking her out and then throwing her down the balcony or down the stairs, something like that, making her death look like an accident. But he had a gun on her, made a squeaky noise on the wooden floor, and she was suddenly alerted. Instead of instantly threatening her to not move or anything, he decided to further on point the gun at her and just get overwhelmed with her melee skills. Of course, he was starting to win for some reason, till Jonah came in and then heavily knocked him with a uh, with a chandelier, I think. Something heavy golden in the room. And what really grinds my gear about this scene is that mid-fight with Lara, the assassin decided that she wouldn't be worth the trouble, or he wouldn't be able to get her look natural, or make her death look natural, and decides to choke her out after he had lost his weapon in the melee. And I'm sitting here and just roll my eyes, and it was so awful. There were so many different ways he could have gone about it. Most notably would be he could have just, when he was only like 5 steps away, he could have put away his weapon, got out a bag, and go the usual I'm gonna put this bag above your head and suffocate you that way, or make you crippled that way, and or pulled out here as a string to strangle her, or anything like that, to make it as silent as possible. Like, his weapon didn't even have a silencer on. So yeah, and stuff like that really grinds my gears. That there was this scene in general, because it didn't really contribute anything to the game in of itself, besides having a filler scene for the next time jump. The time jumps at the start are quite heavy, and I didn't like them. But in the context of making it like a movie to just get the story going, it's an okayish vehicle. And I think they used it quite well, because they set the base points, what's at stake, who are the main characters, and just get the story going. Where the fuck is my mouse?
Anna, you said another Croft doesn't have to die for this. What did you mean by that? You killed my father, didn't you?
Trinity ordered his execution. I couldn't do it.
You're lying!
I loved him.
No!
It's done.
Good.
What about Croft?
No. Not yet.
Cringe. Anyways. I'm gonna treat it as if that didn't happen, and gonna continue talking. What a cringe scene. I'm gonna get to that at the end. Yeah, so scenes like those is no, I was further. I was by the time skips, and the time skips were reasonably were well used in order to get the story going, set the goals, set the main characters. The thing that just puts me off are these nifty little things where one thing should happen, but it doesn't. Like that assassin scene, where Lara should be dead 10 times over, but because the script decides she has to live, it doesn't happen. Or how this should unfold, and it doesn't give her finesse to get out of this situation or anything. Like, you could have even have Jonas come in to get her out, and then 2v1 the assassin, because that's the main reason why he retreated in general because he was 2v1. Also, the guy that just threatened her life, she doesn't shoot him after she gets the gun, and he faces uneven odds. But that, like when you go back, I always say the same thing again. This is that she doesn't shoot him is halfway okayish because she's young, and even so, there was a game before this where she had killed tons of people. It's still forgivable that she doesn't want to instantly take a life when she can. She's not a cold-blooded killer, even so a cold-blooded killer was right in front of her. Yeah, still a little bit contradicting, but in my eyes it's okay. On the other hand, I really liked the scene when Lara first met Constantine and she had to hide in the sarcophagus. The thing I didn't like about that scene was that when she got into the sarcophagus, it didn't make any noise at all. And those are the little things that really put me off. And then the rest of the confrontation or the conversation was quite cute because she got out, they talked about the things, she got the gun on him, so everyone didn't want to risk losing Constantine since he was the religious leader, zealot and everything. And that they even got to the point where she said, yeah, I don't have the artifact, I couldn't even find a trace, and in that moment she also took her gun away from him in a diffusing manner, and that they basically went their ways in a mature kind of way. Even so, she suddenly was able to snatch the detonator for the explosives, and then causing a bunch of chaos with that and escaping. What I would have liked for the entire segment is more how Lara got out of that entire fiesta, because we didn't get to see that. We only saw her causing the chaos, which we then, as a player, needed to assume was helping her to get out. But we never, they had army choppers and an army. How the frick is she in an open desert getting away from that? So yeah, but that is why they used time skips to set the players and get everything going. Which I think on an overall scale they did a good job, but those tiny things I really hated, and that is a theme that goes through the entirety of the game. Almost every dialogue and every interaction has these little niche things. For example, when Anna was shown to be a deceiver, a liar, someone who was years together with the Crofts, and then was actually a Trinity agent, and then that she does. Constantine has Lara bound to a chair, wants to kill her, but Anna decides, no, Croft here, Lara, we can convert her and get her to our cause. She only needs a little bit of reasoning, so throw her behind bars and let her rot for a little bit. She's gonna come around. That's the typical evil bad guy having the upper hand, can easily grab the victory, but then makes some overcomplicated decision to that allows the hero to escape. But that gave us also a nice transition to me meeting Jacob for the first time. So that's kind of nice, especially the dialogue they had between those two, how strongly mistrusting Lara was. It was really cute. That is one of those moments that I really like, that nobody just instantly does something. There is a reason, and even so it's not a good reason, at least the reason is explained. And yeah. So the start actually, no, not actually, has really great points to start, but but this story is really meh. There are a lot of, I don't want to say these small things again, where like the assassin scene. That's why I always make one example, overly explain it, so I can refer to it later on that it's this thing. And this thing is a constant factor in the entire story thing. For example, when we just fought the finale, that those 4 immortals were absolutely not alerted. Yeah, sure, they were slow searching and sweeping the area, but when you alert an enemy in the area, they are way faster in sweeping the area. They're not that slow, so it was, even so they were in somewhat of an alerted pose, they were definitely not actively searching for me. It was a set piece. That is what I greatly disliked. So, in general, this game looks really pretty. I just came out of playing Dying Light 2 and playing the Dead Space remake and everything, and playing Horizon Zero Dawn. And Dead Space and Horizon are extremely pretty games, which is why I initially was misjudging this game, because it's a game from 2015. And I didn't have that much on my didn't have that on my visor, that it is now getting quite old. But even now in the menu screen, if you look at the picture that is presented to you, it's quite of a high quality. And one of the things is that each item you see is of the same quality as the others. One thing I like to call the cyberpunk effect is because I first saw it in Cyberpunk, but it's a picture generated through a lot of low-res pictures. And if you look at the picture as a whole, it looks amazing, absolutely stunning. But the longer you look at single items or elements of the great picture, you will notice how scuffed and bad those other pictures look, and suddenly the magic of the impressiveness of the picture as a whole falls apart because everything just looks bad. And your brain only needs a few moments to realize it. But just as this picture from the menu screen, everything in this game looks good. The only thing is leaves. But leaves and grass always looks scuffed. Especially if you think about that this is a game from 2015. They look a little bit extra scuffed because technology has advanced since then. Also another reason, but that is my last point, so I'm gonna hold off on that. And the worst part about this game is the combat AI system, because I talked about it about midway, but this game seems to have overly simplistic and complex AI at the same moment. The AI will only do 3 things, where I'm uncertain what the third thing even is, because let's talk about that one first, because it's don't get ahead of myself. It does 2 things mainly. The AI takes cover, jumps 2 big steps out of cover before shooting, goes back into cover. Sometimes the AI will look over the cover, mainly when it's assigned the ranged slash supporting role. If it doesn't do that, the AI will charge you up until like 3 feet from you, so you can still decide to either melee them or shoot them down or go into cover. This is okayish. It's okayish for me because I often preach about how simplistic AI is way better than having overly complex AI. Having like 4 AIs with that each have one single role is better than having one AI that can do 4 different things. And here it's weird because there is this third role, and that is the grenade thrower. And we have seen enemies that have a bright coloring. It's either, I think, red, but mostly I saw yellow guys that only would grenade spam. And sometimes the AI commander would bug out and would even let a normal guy grenade spam. And that is odd, to say the least. Also, the moments where AIs decided to flush me out, to rush me, it felt more like the AI was stuck and didn't know any better. That it would, in order for someone to charge and push me out, the criteria was more than 2 people would need to be alive and give cover to the guys that push. And then often about half of the enemies would just push me for no reason. They would go down the same lane, the same line, and I would just easily farm headshots on them. And then have a difficult time fighting the rest of the enemies that were still hidden in cover. Yeah. And then the grenade thrower was supposed to mix things up, but in the end I was just headshot farming each time I had more than 3 enemies. And even when I was fighting 3 enemies, one of them might push me every now and then. And that was every combat. There was this one combat where we was fighting a flamethrower dude. We never saw him again, so he is not important. I was able to easily gun him down by just bullet spamming against him. Yeah. There's nothing much more to say about combat system. It's a letdown. It reminded me strongly on the Crysis AI from Crytek in the Crysis games, but mainly because Crytek did a really good job assigning roles to their AI. I'm gonna use the term of AI commanding. So yeah, and I just have seen way better than what this game had to offer in as combat. Crafting. Crafting was decent. It was I think the main reason why I was overstashed on crafting materials was because the difficulty wasn't high enough. Because I only went for hard difficulty instead of the highest one. So that probably gave me more resources than I should have, because I'm a good single player, so I should keep that in consideration. But the reason why I didn't go for it this time is because of my bad opinion of the previous Tomb Raider game, and so I didn't want to get stuck or have a hard time. But that had as a result that I had way too much of an easy time. I constantly had my satchels full with animal hides and yeah, all the materials I need for crafting. The only times I was struggling was because of scrap, or if I needed some cloth for my crafting stuff. But that evened out, especially towards the end, since the game would just throw resources at me to not get stuck, which is a good thing. But since I was heavily stacked anyways, it became monotone. But then, like I said, I have acquired some skill with time and playing a lot of single player games. So me deciding to go with an easier difficulty made that happen, and I really should have cranked up the difficulty in order to really have the experience this game wanted to give me. So I'm gonna keep that neutral because I didn't play according to my skill level, or choose the difficulty according to my skill level. So yeah, overall, I have a very negative opinion of this game because the only redeeming factor is really those few moments in the story. And yes, this is the grand conclusion. And there's but one thing that I didn't take into consideration. That is the price tag of this game. This is only a $30 game, released in a time where where $60 are full game prices. So for this being a half game, it's kinda okay. It ain't too bad. If you ain't that bound on story consistency as I am, this is probably an alright game. Especially because it looks pretty. And since I got this for $8, I spent the last 2 streams passively thinking about if this game is worth $8. And I must say, sadly, for graphics and all of that, I should say it's worth it, your money. Especially at that price range. It ticks enough boxes to be even good and not just acceptable. But I have high standards, and so this game has bad combat. It has below average crafting and skill level as skill tree. It has an almost terrible story with a few redeeming factors, which is not why it pushes it into the terrible and not absolutely dog shit category. Especially since I really grow a liking to Jacob at the end. That's a big redeeming factor. And so yeah, this is on a scale to 10, where 10 is best and 1 is lowest. 3.5 for this game. And the main redeeming facts, again, is how pretty it looks. And the rest is pretty much awful. So, yeah. I have talked way too long. I'm not used to talk this long in one go. But it's a game that is worth getting talked about this much. And it's why it's a 3.5 and not a 3. Because there's a lot in this game. And I cannot stress this enough. If you are someone who doesn't go as deep into this story as I do, this will be a good game for you. It just isn't a good game for me. But this is it for me in this stream. I'm gonna relax my throat now and hope you have as a beautiful weekend as I will have. So, have a good day, good night, and I will see you around.